Hello guys and everybody. Thank you for watching this video. This video is gonna show you how to replace the old pan gasket on a Hyundai Veracruz. Can be complex and time consuming task. Here are the general steps to follow. It's pretty simple basic step. Everybody could do it. The first thing you have to do, you have to remove the flash shield so you could easily get to the old pan. Also, you might be annoying me speaking, on this video because the background is pretty loud, so I have to speak it, manually. I hope you can understand what I'm trying to say. But if you do have a problem or anything, you're more happy to message me on this video. I'm more happy to answer everything you could might possibly help me on this my video. This is my new channel, so thank you for supporting. If you want to know more about vehicles, how to repair, and other car that need to be reviewed, and I do love, reviewing supercar. It's pretty amazing for me, and love my job. Love new cars. Love new articles when it comes to vehicles. So I'm here right now, showing you step by step tutorial how to replace this OPAN, because I got this customer came in a couple weeks ago, came in for an oil change, and they asked us question. Did, she noticed something, some oil on her driveway. She keep losing some oil somehow, and then finally I say, you know what? Let, and then let me look at it. And then she came in for the oil change. I looked at it. I did notice that she does have some oil leak. So I did recommend she needed an oil pan replaced. But I did told her it's better for her to buy the whole oil pan assembly with the gasket, because if you just try and replace the original oil pan, it'll be more it's not gonna last that long, because on this type of Hyundai, especially on Hyundai and import car like Nissan, Toyota, Honda, you know, and Hyundai, Kia, those vehicles, all pan, they use special sealer. They use like a gray sealer. Those gray sealer RTV, they're pretty strong. What they do, by the time you put that around that oil pan and let it stick there, eventually it's gonna make like a hard sealer, and it'll be harder for you to scrape it, and it'll be hard for you to take it off from the oil pan, and also it's harder for you to separate the block in the oil pan. You have to pry it off. By the time you try to pry that off, he's gonna try to dent the oil pan assembly. Next thing you know, it's gonna be harder for you to try to reuse the original oil pan, and is eventually in the long run is gonna leak on you. So in this type of job, we done this a few times, actually many times in our life. So we know the experience. We know what to do, how to get it done correctly. But if you try and do this on your own, make sure you ask ex, ex, expertise or any other mechanic that know about vehicles, because he thinks it's easy by watching this video, but there's a few step in here he might give you a hard time. I will tell you later on. All right. So the first thing you have to do on this car, make sure you got all the tools you needed. Make sure you got your parts are correct, and then when you buy the parts, make sure you look at the oil pan and the gasket is is like the blueprint and everything. Make sure everything is correct. You know what I mean? Because you don't want to try and do the job. Next thing you know, you get the wrong parts. It's gonna be harder for you to go back and trying to find the parts. What if the parts is special order? Might take you a week or a month or so, or maybe later, and it'll be harder for you to get back to work and get your work done. Now these days, time is money. Your car is stranded, you can't make no money. So make sure you use your time wisely. So the first thing you have to do when it comes to this OPAN, I'm gonna go back to what we here for this video. So this video is about replacing the OPAN gasket and the OPAN assembly. So now the first thing you have to do, you have to take the oil cap off from the top of the engine. You take that off, move to the side, because there's a reason why we're doing that. So when you're trying to drain the oil out, it will be easier for you to drain all that oil out completely from your oil pan. So now you see me, I'm using this tools. This tools right here, I'm using the 17 millimeter socket. When it comes to import car like Toyota, Nissan, Honda, all that stuff, they got basic tools socket. Like you got a, you got 12 millimeter, 14 millimeter, and 17 millimeter, 19. There's mostly all the basic, socket sizes when it comes to repairing um, import car. So this car takes 17 millimeter socket. So you take that out, break it loose, drain the oil. After you drain the oil, you start removing the oil pan bolt. The oil pan bolt is pretty small. Take 10 millimeter, short 10 millimeter. So make sure you got a 10 millimeter socket to remove all the bolt. All right, see me right there. I'm taking off the flash shield on our passenger side. It's like right there by the fender well. So I'm removing that also because so it'd be easier for me to see where's the you see that frame right there on the bottom. That frame, it has a bolt right there. There's like three or four 10 millimeter bolt underneath that on top of that frame. Sometimes it's kind of harder for you to go in there with a straight socket. If you got a straight socket with the 3/8, it'll be harder for you to try and remove that because you don't have enough space. You're gonna hit that the frame, the engine frame, cradle, whatever. So that one, make sure you use the swivel. The I was and then I was looking at my tools. The best way to remove that one to the to remove that the oil pan bolt right there, I use the quarter inch 10 millimeter swivel socket or 3/8 swivel socket. So it'll be easier for you to make that angle when it comes to that. Or you could use you could use your gear wrench 10 millimeter. But you see me, I was trying to do it, it didn't work. So I have to do that plan B. When it comes to a mechanic, you always have a plan B. You always got to fall into plan B because if you try to go with the plan A and didn't work, you feel like giving up. That's not good. Never give up when it comes to type of when you come to mechanic. You got to use your idea or you got a critical thinking, brainstorming, what other way to get that off. Because a lot of people think that being mechanic is like, oh yeah, go ahead, can you do the job for me? I know you could get it done, whatever. But sometimes being mechanic is not easy, So that's why this is what I did on this part. See that I showed you earlier? I got that 3/8. I got the quarter inch socket with a short socket with the swivel with the wireless um gear, tools. That's what I'm doing right now. See that? Um, I'm slowly getting it up. See the swivel socket? It worked really well with that. See, that's a good thing. I removed that right front fender well splash shield so I could get my hand on the other side, guide my socket swivel, so it'd be easier for me to get it up. Because if you're not, you're gonna end up stripping that bolt. If you strip that bolt, it'll be harder for you to get it up. That's why I said earlier in the beginning of this video, if you don't know about this, if you don't know how to turn wrench, you don't know anything about being mechanic or anything about mechanically thing, or make sure you hire a professional or take it to the shop or read the manuals book or watch video DIY and practice it to yourself, but don't practice it to somebody else, and then just practice it to your own project. So every mechanic think that we everybody's good. No, everybody learn on their own. It's hands on. So sometimes you gotta learn everything on your own and make sure you fix your own mistake. If you have, if you can't fix your own mistake and you're scared doing some challenge to yourself, you're not gonna be able to get the job done. Don't rush yourself and don't panic when something go down. If something break, you just trying to stop what you're at and then sit down, have a water, nice cold soda or something, have a snack, or maybe have a cigarette break. A lot of things you could do to relax your mind. when your mind's relaxed, you could do a little better when doing work. See now? So now let's go back to this video. See now? See that video I'm showing you right now? I was showing you everything, how many bolts you got on that oil pan. So, so you might get distracted me talking, but make sure you go you watch this video carefully and pay attention because sometimes I talk a lot. Sometimes being it's not really good to talk a lot. This is my first time doing this voice video because the background on this video is so loud you might not be able to hear me while I'm speaking and talking. So now, like I said earlier, when I got all you got all the bolt out, right? When you take the bolt out, see me holding the pry bar, I was trying to pry it off. So it's because I'm having a hard time to pry it off. So I got to pry that off, like trying to break it loose, trying to separate the old pant from the from the block. Sometimes you feel like this is impossible. Why do engineers create these vehicles? What kind of sealer they put in these vehicles? Because that thing is totally magnet and sealed and welded to that block. So don't panic, don't give up yet. So like I told you earlier, they use this gray RTB, is pretty strong. See me right now? What I'm doing? I'm using a flathead screwdriver. I was trying to hammer it, prying it, trying to break that sealer off. See, see now you understand why the reason why I have you have to replace the whole the whole pan assembly, because if not, you can't reuse this old pan. You'll be damaged by then. So now I'm hammering it slowly, and also when you're trying to hammer this and trying to break it loose, make sure you don't damage the old pan, old pan bracket housing where the block is. If you damage that one, you might end up gotta do more work. So now I'll kind of break it loose. See that little gap right there? So it'll be easier for you to get in there, trying to fry it more, and then slowly. By the time you see the gap, you can just pry it off slowly. Don't try to hammer that in all the way in, because imagine inside that, if you go all the way in with those pry bar or screwdriver or flathead, what's gonna happen? He's gonna go all the way inside it. You could damage your open um we call it open pump screen, the old pump screen. I'm gonna show you by the time I take this up. See, now I got it up. See, it look pretty easy. Totally look pretty easy. See, you take it up, slow. You take it up. That's the one I was telling you earlier. Be careful when you're trying to, shove that flathead in there. See that oil pan screen right there, oil pump. There's an oil pump screen. The oil pump right there is part of the oil pump. If that thing got damaged or you're trying to hammer it, see, I was wiping it down. I was wiping it down because make sure everything's clean, not just clean. Make sure I'm trying to wipe up the old you know oiled, oil, old oil, and also kind of wipe out the screen, make sure there's no dirt in there. See, now I do that. That's another technique I did. I put that in there because the old pan, the old pump screen, will eventually gonna keep leaking oil because that thing's go connected to the head, to the oil pump, to the everything inside the engine. You know what I mean? So you're gonna keep dripping. It's gonna keep dripping. So now you see me right there. I'm just kind of like cover that with the shop rag, like it's something to catch the oil. You know, on this video, you see the oil is dripping on the ground. It's dripping. I got oil catch can below me, so don't just let it drain on the ground. Because if you let that oil drain to the ground, next thing you know, your floor will be messy and be harder for you to work. And then if that thing messy, got oil all over the place, you'd be like, oh no, man, you be a dirty mechanic by then. You don't want to be working as a dirty mechanic, man. That's not good. So see me right there. I'm using this scraper. It's like this scraper right here is like the a blade, it's like a sharp blade, like a brand new blade. I just put it in there. So I'm kind of scraping it up, trying to scrape it, trying to get the old RTV sealer. The RTV sealer is pretty hard to come off, man. So I'm using the sharp scraper. I'm slowly trying to scrape all the RTV that easy to come up. That's like part one, just to get the sealer out, you know. So now I went back to my toolbox trying to find something that could grind off or shave off residue, all the residue sealer in there, because my scraper seems like it's not working 100%. I don't want to be in there all day. See that right there? I just show you. That's like a buffer. It's like a scraper, like made of like plastic, like a rubber plastic. So I'm gonna use that one, so I don't have to damage the OPAN housing bracket, because you know we're the block, what you call it, the housing. You know, sorry if my English not right. And sorry if my tutorial is not good. And then I'm just trying doing this. You know, it's my first time doing this blog. So I hope you could support and subscribe and follow me more. And I promise you I'll make more video. See that I was cleaning it up. See, scraping all that stuff. I like to use that tools because it's like 1% could pass. This 1% that can damage your bracket. You know, the housing. You know, where's the bolt connected to the OPAN. Yeah, I do that. Scrape it off a little bit like that. So it'll be easier for me and then won't damage it. But if you think that you can't find these tools, that the yellow the 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 wheel buffer or whatever, you could use a regular wheel whisk, like the we call it cookie. You could use a cookie wheel whisk, the brown one. You could use that one too, because if you use that one, I guarantee you the job probably gonna get done faster. But I'm just showing you this one because because I want to do it right, because I don't want the customer like, hey man, I just did an oil pan and then in the gasket now it's leaking. You know, I don't want to do that. So see me right there. I'm scraping with the regular blade, razor blade, slowly. It's still scraping it. You know, the hardest part about this job is the prepping it. You got to put more time prepping it. You know, what do I mean prepping? It's like you have to prep it real well. You got to clean every old residue of RTV, because if you don't do that, and then trying to put a new RTV on top of that, next thing you know, a month later, or maybe a week later, it's gonna leak again. You know, make sure that one's totally clean. See that I'm scraping it real well. Got trying to get all that stuff, and also the hardest part too. You see that we talked about earlier that there's a bolt on top of that the frame, the engine frame, the cradle frame right there. There's a board there. It'd be harder to scrape that, and then with the wheel whisk cutter, I mean wheel whisk buffer, it's hard. So I end up using the small razor blade. I put a lot of time on that corner right there. Yeah, I gotta put a lot of time on it. Just scrape it as much as you can, the best you can, and pretty much that's it, guys. You know what I mean? So I hope you learned a lot of things from this video, and I hope you understand what I said. So now I'm here. So now this the part that we're gonna try to put the oil pan together with the sealer. So I'm right here. So I always put a new gloves when it comes to the when I'm trying to put the new parts in it, because especially when it comes to oil, you don't want to use your old gloves, a bunch of oil in it, and then everything you touch should be greasy everywhere. You don't want to do that. So now see, I opened a new razor blade, like I told you earlier. When I was trying to scrape the old gasket out of there, I used a fresh razor blade. You know what I mean? So I end up using it again just to cut that little gasket to get it off. You know, from the package. So see that. Make sure your oil pan is right, and also make sure your drain plug is tight. Because I've seen people that just put the new oil pan in it, and the drain plug is loose. They put a new oil to finish the job, and then put the oil in it. Next thing you know, they drove off the lot, and the oil, oil pan drain plug just come right off. Next thing you know, kaboom, and you just blow up. No oil. You don't want to do that. So all right, let's go back to this video. So all right, see what I'm doing? I'm using exactly what I told you earlier. I'm using this gray RTV from Nissan. You know, the Nissan always use the gray RTV, man. Is anything that you want to try to seal some oil or anything for like, or oil, anything that's high temperature, use this gray RTV. Using this gray RTV, man, is gonna save your day. You're gonna save your job. You save your job. Save your serve, like your job, like save your time, then going back again and redoing it again. It's not really good to keep doing the same job over and over. That's what you call comeback. Having a comeback is not really good, man. So make sure you use a great RTV. If you think that you don't got no more RTV, don't don't hesitate to ask your boss or buy yourself a new one. You know what I mean? Because it's pretty cheap, man. I think actually before it used to be like $3 or $4. I think right now it's like $8 or $9. The price is going up, so that's another thing too. So that's why it's always good to watch video, learn from other expertise. You know, I'm not an expert, but I just like working on cars. If you like working on cars, and you're gonna love what you've been doing, you're gonna love what you do. You know. See me, I'm using the gray RTV, so I'm trying to use that. I'm trying to get every bit of the RTV on that little package, because I used it so many times, and not this job and other job too. So other job that like gotta seal something. See, so now I put the gasket in there. That gasket right there, make sure it's lined up correctly from the bolt hole. You know what I mean? See the little thing right there? I'm trying to line it nice and neat. And after you do that, you gotta let it sit, man. You gotta let it sit for at least a minute or two before you go back up there. In this type of gasket sealer, there's a lot of curing you have to do. So sometimes you gotta take your time to cure the gasket. If you just go in there, be like trying to rush the job, go in there and then you put the RTV, trying to put it back on a engine. Next thing you know, he's gonna leak again, bro. Don't do that. So I have to cut the video because I did kind of wait for like 2 minutes to maybe 2 or 3 minutes to let it cure a little better, and then it usually take about like 10 minutes to cure in my way. You know what I mean? But if you think that I was wrong or not, you can always read the package. Whatever I do in here video, don't don't believe on me. Or you could just, if you're not sure what I'm doing, you can always research it yourself and then read the manuals and then call the dealer. You know all that stuff. Call the parts people. All that stuff. What parts you need. So now what I did, I'm trying to put it back in there, right? The new oil pan with the new gasket and the sealer. The, the first the secret way to do this, make sure you put the bolt on the gasket first. You know, you screw the bolt to the oil pan, and then there's a gasket. Make sure you line it up with the hole. If you don't line it up, you might push the gasket off the side, and the next thing you know, you might not you might not cure correctly, and then it's gonna cause you more trouble in the long run. See, so what I'm doing here, see me how I'm putting the bolt in there. I'm doing the cross pattern kind of sort of. In a, people say follow the book, follow the manual's book. So it's gonna be on your own, the way you wanna, what easier for you. But if you do, so the best way you always get the cross pattern, obviously, cause if you don't do the cross pattern, mounting stuff like that, what's gonna happen that one side is gonna be higher than the other side, and then next thing you know, and then the oil might travel in one way, and next thing you know, you might messed up your sealer. So that's another one thing. And also, I forgot to mention because I keep talking, man. I got distracted because I'm a talker, man. I'm like a storyteller sometimes. That's why sometimes it's not really good to explain myself on many things because I just keep talking and talking nonstop. All right, I forgot to tell you. Let's go back to this video about the OPAN. When you put the open gasket in there with the whole assembly and the RTV, I forgot to mention to you earlier. I cut the video. I forgot to take a video. There's there's the cut in between um the block. There's the cut. The front cover of the timing chain, and there's the in the open, there's a gap between there, like the block and the head and the timing cover. So there's a gap underneath that right there. Um, you make sure you put an RTV on that little gap where they're separated. Because if you don't put an RTV in between that gap, what's gonna happen? He's gonna leak again. Even though you tell yourself, I already put an RTV on my OPAN and my gasket, it should seal it. I mean, good enough. But yeah, you're right. But you always want to, when it comes to any leak that you're trying to repair, so always double check it twice, or maybe more than time, more than one, because by the time you put the sealer in there and put the gasket in there, and you're not trying to take it out apart and then redo it. It'd be harder for you because you have to scrape it again. You got to scrape that gasket. It'd be harder. So what you do on that OPAN and a block and the timing cover. There's a gap in that area. Make sure you put a sealer in there. Put a sealer on your finger and wipe and put it in there like good enough to make sure that will seal that little gap. After you do that, wait for a few minutes, and now you put your oil pan in there with your gasket and the sealer, and then and do the cross pattern when you do the bolt. And then see, now I'm using my speed wrench because what reason I'm doing that, because I want to try and do I want to try to do it, you know, try and do it fast. Because sometimes if you put your hand like that too long as a mechanic, a lot of mechanics always have the problem with the arm and the shoulder muscle aching, you know, because it would be there all day trying to tighten a bolt, and then arm get tired, get weak. That's why we use those speed wrench sometimes. All right, guys, man. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you learned something about this video, and thank you so much. And if you want to subscribe, subscribe. And if you want to follow me, watch more video. I'm gonna make more video for you guys. And thank you again, man. This is very appreciated for watching me on this video. Sorry if you could understand. Thank you again. All right.